the last few weeks, we've been studying living above the overwhelm. Week 1, we talked about how overwhelm often comes when we're trying too hard, when we're striving rather than abiding and being connected to the vine, to Jesus. Last week, we discovered that sometimes we're overwhelmed because we're carrying burdens that were never ours to carry. But sometimes, even when we're abiding in Him, even when we're casting off the burdens that we need to, we're doing the right things. We're in a relationship with Him. Even when we're walking right with Him, storms still come. So the question isn't, will a storm come? It is when. But the question that we want to ask tonight is Jesus in your boat? Is Jesus in the boat? So we're going to read out of Mark chapter 4, verse 35 to 41. Mark chapter 4, 35 to 41. And on the same day, when evening had come, he said to them, "Let us cross over to the other side." Now, when they had left the multitude, they took him along in the boat as he was, and other little boats were also with him. And a great windstorm arose. The waves beat into the boat so that it was already filling. But he was in the stern, asleep on a pillow. And they awoke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" Then he arose and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. But he said to them, "Why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith?" And they feared exceedingly and said to one another, "Who can this be, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" So I want to walk through this passage verse by verse. Let's start on verse 35. On the same day when evening had come, he said to them, "Let us cross over to the other side." So it says on the same day. On the same day of what? Right? So prior to that, in chapter 4, Jesus has been teaching to large crowds, teaching to the multitudes, traveling around, multiple parables. So the parable of the sower, the lamp, the seed, the growing seed, and the mustard seed. He's been teaching to the multitudes. I would think this probably would have taken hours, the whole day. He's out there doing it, doing the deal, right? He's working hard. He's trying to communicate. And then on top of that, he had a private time with the disciples where he actually spent time with them, explaining to them everything he had just taught in the day. And Jesus said, "Let's cross over to the other side." They got in the boat. They are traveling across the sea to something, to a place. There was a purpose where they were going. There was something that had to happen, that was going to happen once they got there. Jesus knew this. I don't know if he told, when they got there, there was a man met them out of the tombs that was demon possessed. And that man, that day, when Jesus arrived, was freed. He was restored back to his right mind. So there was significance in the reason they were going there. There was purpose for them. We as believers, we're in life, right? We're going through life. We are on our way somewhere. You all have purpose. We talked about that in the first week. Every single one of us has a call and a purpose. And we are also guaranteed eternal life. It's been promised. So we're not just out there drifting, on some, I don't know where I'm going to end up. No, there's a purpose. We're headed somewhere. We're going across. He told the disciples to get in the boat. We're going to the other side. And in that hope, John 14, chapter 3, it says, I go to prepare a place for you. I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may also be. So we have hope in him. We're not on this losing team. If he said that we are going to the other side and there is hope for us, he cannot lie. Amen. And that's what's happening. We are going to the other side. There's just a little problem for us in that. Because God's not super big on disclosing all the details. I don't know if he tells us much at all. That's where faith comes in, right? But he's not big on the details. But he said, let's go to the other side. That should be all we need to know, right? But you know how we are. It's hard. He doesn't say what's going to happen on the way to the other side. He doesn't tell us, all right, Amanda, you have this. This is what I see. You can become and what is your purpose and your destiny. He didn't tell me what was going to happen in between. Did he tell you? What if he would have? What if he did give us the details? Oh, here, by the way, you're going to accept me, and I have this call on your life, okay? And there's something great for you. But before you get there, you're going to go through hell backwards with your hair on fire twice or 6 times. He doesn't give us the details. What do you think that if Jesus would have given the disciples all the details, if he said, all right, look, we're going to the other side, but before we get there, you're almost going to die. You're going to think you're dying. You're going to be so scared. Do you think they would have gotten the boat? I don't know, but I'm thinking maybe not. Maybe it's the same way with us in life, that if he would have told me everything that I was going to go through to get to my purpose, do you think I might have tried a detour around there and take the easy way? But that's not. Well, first of all, who would I even be if I just took the easy way? The storms in our lives create opportunities to trust him more. They cause us to need him. They build things inside of us that otherwise would not have been built in us. They pull things out of us that need to be gone, that otherwise we might have held on to.
But you have to trust him.
We have to trust him. That is right. Not knowing all of the details is where things get difficult for us sometimes. Daryl spoke about it Sunday, about Joseph. And he had a dream, okay? So he knew something. He had this dream. But on the way, he had a purpose. He was on his way to his purpose. But on the way, life happened. Storms came. The pit happened. The prison happened. But if those things wouldn't have happened, the palace would have also. The storms have a purpose.
They make you.
Has anyone ever had big plans and were on your way? You're on your way. You had the big plans. As a kid, I made all these plans in my mind. I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I had it all planned out. I'm a list maker. So I had all the things. Okay, in 2001, I'm going to do this. And I don't know. None of that happened. We have big plans, and then boom, out of nowhere, storms happen. I was, while I was studying this, I was thinking, this popped in my head about as I was a young adult, 20s. Kind of crazy that I even say that. I feel like I'm 20 right now. In my 20s, you know, has anybody ever been in that era of life and you don't really have a lot of money to go around? Yeah. I mean, yeah, sometimes. So you don't have a lot going around. And I just remember this one time I got this bonus check. I had a little bit of money saved up, and I had big plans for this money. I don't remember what it was, but I was going to go buy myself something, you know. And like the day that after I got this check, I got word that my brakes in my car were dead. Has this ever happened to anyone? Yeah. Yeah. So my brakes went out. I had to go get this completely done. But hey, I had the money. And I remember telling Dad, I'm like, I am mully-grubbing. I'm mad about it. I'm like, how come every single time I get it a little bit ahead, something happens, and I got to go spend every bit of that money on getting my rotors turned? What is that even? I don't, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I remember Dad telling me that day, he goes, what you need to be doing right now is thanking God that he provided right on time for what I needed. So this, you know, what if storms are built into God's plan? I think Daryl probably said this a little bit Sunday. What if they're built into his plan? And you ever noticed that whenever we go into storm, when a storm happens, it always seems like it's at the most inopportune time. You're already tired. You're already frustrated. Something else has already been happening, and then boom, you get hit by something. You're like, why? And you don't think you can take it anymore. It just seems like that's when they happen. The next verse 36, says, now when they had left the multitude, they took him along in the boat as he was. And I don't know if I've ever really noticed those last three words there. They took him along as he was. And there's a lot packed into that phrase. This suggests that they didn't really make a lot of preparation. They got in the boat and they headed across. They didn't go pack a bag. They didn't go home for, a while and rest. They got in the boat. Jesus likely got into the boat tired from teaching all day. And this fits into the fact that they found him sleeping in just a minute. He was tired. This also highlights Jesus' humanity. He was fully man and fully God. And the humanity side of him here is exhausted. He's tired. He needs sleep. He needs peace. He needs a little rest. He needs a minute. Amen. So he goes down into the bottom of the boat, and he's taking a nap. And then there's another little detail that I overlooked before, and it's not in every translation, but in this particular one, the last part of that verse, 36, says, and other little boats were also with him. So I want to just earmark that. When Jesus calms the storm, it wasn't just a private experience for him and the disciples. There were other boats nearby. And they would have seen and been affected by the storm as well. But when you have Jesus in your boat and you call on him, and he is the source of your peace, people around you will also benefit. So why don't you look at somebody next and say, is Jesus in your boat? Mr. Bob? Yeah. Right after this, however, everything changes. Verse 37, and a great windstorm arose, and the waves beat into the boat so that it was already filling with water. It was already filling. This reminded me of a really funny story that actually happened to us, our family. One time, every year we went on a vacation, our family over there and me. And this particular year, we went to a cabin on a lake in Mississippi, I think, or somewhere. And so we had brought our boat, and we were skiing and fishing and everything. And this cabin was on stilts. You know, it was on a hill, and it was up high, and there was plate glass all the way from the top, all the way down, all the way across, and you could see this whole lake. It was beautiful. So we get, I guess it's nice. So we're in that cabin, and I hope I'm remembering this right. It seemed like pretty quickly a storm came up, and there was lots of tornado activity. And we're stuck. We're in this living room. And so I remember standing in the living room as it starts to get really bad. The wind is just, the glass is doing this, like just going back. It's terrifying. And Dad's standing in the window looking out, and our boat is tied right there at the bank of this lake to a tree. And the boat, the poor thing, it's just, and Dad sat there and cried, and was like, he did. He cried. No, wait. He's like, my boat, it's sinking. And it was sinking. It was the waves were 6 feet tall. It seemed. It was bad. And they were just going into this boat. And it just slowly started to sink. Well, it became evident that we did not need to be standing in this living room. You're all wondering it, I know. When were they going to go into the bathroom? We finally went into the back bedroom, and we're like, I really feel like we thought we were dying. We were like, well, this is it. We're ready, So we went to the bedroom. We're laughing, but we're serious. It was bad. So we all 5 of us go, and we kneel down around the bed, and Dad's like, we grab hands, and we're just praying. We're just basically committing our souls to the Lord at this point. And we're praying. We're like, Lord, keep us safe or whatever. And I'm bowed. Okay, we're praying. And I hear Daryl go, Dana, pray. So Daryl had peeked while we were praying, and Dana, I guess, wasn't as committed to the praying. And so she was looking around like, oh, my God. And Daryl's like, Dana, pray. And, we lived. We survived. We made it. Yeah. But the boat, back to the boat, it had been filled with water. It sank, okay? But on a good note, we were able to pail out the water, and then we were skiing by the afternoon. But, yeah. Yeah. So, but the point is, I digress, isn't that like us sometimes, like what Daryl was like? We're in the biggest storm of our life. We're over here worried about this one, worried about that one. What are they doing? This, are they praying? Are they living right? Or maybe we turn it inward to ourselves, asking ourselves the question. I don't know about you, but the sound of water filling the boat that I'm in the middle of a sea, sounds like a bad deal. But here's where things start to change. 38, verse 38. Jesus was in the stern, asleep on the pillow in the biggest storm of their lives. And they awoke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" All this is going on, and Jesus is asleep. Imagine being in the middle of the biggest storm of your life, and Jesus is asleep. The disciples were panicking. I'd be panicking. We panicked. They go in yelling, "Teacher, do you not care about us? Where are you?" Have you ever wondered when you're going through a storm, Jesus, what are you doing? Where are you? Why are you sleeping? Amen. Do you not care where I'm at? Do you not care what's happening here? They woke him up from a nap. Has anybody ever been woken up from a nap before? Okay, we're going to do a little poll. We're going to take a little poll. Raise your hand if you're a happy nap waker-upper. You wake up from a nap just glorious. You jump up. Raise your hand. I'm sure there's some. Okay. 4 or 5. Raise your hand if you do not wake up well from a nap. See, I'm here and here for it because that's me. I don't know, how Jesus woke up. Seems like they went in kind of quickly, and woke him up. I don't know if he was frustrated or, well, he kind of was. We're going to get to that in just a second. And then the question that he asked them. I am not a happy nap waker-upper. And Mark learned this when we first got married. After. And he would wake me up, and I was not happy. And so Grace and Mark decided that that was not a good idea to wake me up from naps. So one time on vacation, they came in where I was taking a nap because we needed to leave, and they decided to use a golf club because they said when I wake up, I swing. I don't think that's true, but they said that I did, and they come in poking me like that. I don't think that the disciples went in soft. I think they went in like, "Jesus, where are you? Why are you asleep?" And he said, "Well, why are you so fearful? How is it that you still don't have any faith?" They've been walking with him. They've spent time with him. They've seen miracles. How is it that you still have no faith? The question I would like to ask the disciples, did you guys forget who was in your boat? No. After spending so much time with Jesus, I'm sure they knew him better than anyone. But yet, they still forgot that the one that could calm the storm, the only one who could speak peace into a situation, that could bring a calm over their life and over their heart and their mind, he was in the boat. They had to have forgotten that. What about you? How often do we forget that the presence of Jesus in the boat is enough to get us through the storm? Because we're not strong enough in ourselves for the storm. We weren't built to endure the storm alone. But Jesus with us, he can help us through the storm. He is strong enough. But what happens next reveals exactly who Jesus is. We've already been shown the humanity of Jesus in this passage. He was tired from teaching. He was tired from doing what he was doing. And he was asleep. He had to sleep to rest. He was fully man. But then what happens next is amazing because it illustrates perfectly that not only was he human, he was fully God, and he was able to speak to the storm, and it had to die. In verse 39, it says, "Then he arose and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, 'Peace, be still.' And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm." The reason that this is important is because if he was just fully God, he wouldn't be able to identify with us. In my exhaustion, in our exhaustion, when I've given everything that I have and I still don't feel like it's enough, he identifies. In every situation that we've ever been in, he can identify with you. In your frustration, when things aren't going the way that you thought that they would. In confusion, when I don't understand what God is doing. In pain, when life hits in a way that we didn't see coming. In all of our questions, when I'm asking, why is this happening? When we're stressed out about finances and we don't know how things are going to work out. When our families are struggling and we don't know how to fix it. When our relationships feel strained and broken. When we're overwhelmed and we feel like we're drowning. And when we're tired and just not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. He has felt it. He understands it. He knows it. And if he was only human, he wouldn't be able to help us. If he was only human, he wouldn't be able to calm the storm, speak peace into our chaos. He wouldn't be able to step into our situations and change them. But he is fully God and fully man. And everything you'll ever feel or know, he's felt it. Every question you've ever had, he knows that question. Every temptation we've ever had to deal with. Jesus in his humanity felt every bit of it, understood it, and knows it. In the next verse, in verse 40, Jesus turns the focus back onto the disciples. He says, "But he said to them, 'Why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith?' And they feared exceedingly and said to one another, 'Who can this be that even the wind and the sea obey him?'" So, I mentioned it before, but here the disciples, they've walked with Jesus every day. They've listened to his teachings. They've slept and ate and traveled with him. These people were as close to Jesus as anyone could be. Yet they still feared exceedingly. So what's going on here? Obviously, this isn't a proximity problem, because there he is. He was in the boat. It wasn't like he needed to be any closer to them. It was a perspective problem. They forgot. We talked about focus. They were focused on the storm and not on the source of their peace. And that changes how we would see our own storms. They forgot that the presence of Jesus